Okay. Tripod ama tripod?
Ni tripod, si ndio? Try. Na ile ya Mercedes. Ni Porsche, it's Porsche.
Porsche. Mercedes. BMW.
So how do we start? We start by introducing ourselves.
Yep.
Hii jani imekuwa hapa. Oh, hata hiyo nekani.
Yeah.
I know this leaf was a prop.
Kijani, yeah. It's a paid actor. Okay. All right.
So we start.
We get started. We already started.
Yeah, this thing already started.
Yeah,
so
this thing already started.
My name is Dennis. I might call myself an entrepreneur, maybe not yet, but yeah, I run a couple of businesses and also an innovation team lead. I'm passionate about marketing and yeah, I'm a marketer right now.
Oh yeah, he's an interesting profile. My name is Nick. Innovation, I think that's become something I'm really passionate about of late, and I think that's why we're here today. That's what we're going to be talking about throughout the whole session. So I mean, where do we get started? There's a lot to talk about. Now, we don't want to make this like a podcast. Nobody's paying us to do this.
Yeah.
We're just sharing insights from, what have we learned? What do we feel is important when it comes to the innovation spaces? And yeah, what lessons have we picked that we can share with you? Yeah.
So I feel like we can start from the point where a lot of people come up with innovation ideas, especially the young people. But then how do they test these ideas and turn them into real businesses?
Yeah.
I think that's the real question. Maybe you can start there, like Nick. According to your experience, the people you've dealt with, how many people would you say this is a good idea and this is an idea that has been turned into a business?
Wow. I think when we started this somewhere around January, we had about, say, 60. We had about 60 students who actually registered their businesses and their business ideas and projects, the whatnots. And out of that, we're able to funnel it down to around 8. And the 8, as we speak, are yet to actually develop a product. And that just speaks to the whole concept. I think getting an idea it's not something which is unique. These days, I don't think it's as exciting as it was years before. You'd hear someone has an idea and you'd be like, oh wow, that is awesome, this guy is an innovator. I mean, these days there's AI which can help you to generate as many ideas as possible. Anybody can actually come up with an idea and it's not something special anymore. So what we're looking at right now is identifying real problems and trying to find real solutions to these problems. And that's why I feel like we're having we're having this like an overload of ideas, but we don't have the capacity to actually process all of them. And most of them don't even need to be processed because they're not really adding value as we expect them to be doing.
So like most young people who want to start businesses, do you feel like they already have good ideas but they do not know how to turn them into businesses, or they think they have good ideas that now they think their good idea is already a business?
I think many young people are stuck on having so many good ideas. No, they're stuck in the space of thinking they have so many good ideas. Unfortunately, we've not been taught enough to understand that it's not about what I think is a good idea, it's what the market actually says is a good idea. So it's less of what I think is a good idea, what I approve to be a good idea. The only way we can assert it's a good idea if it's actually solving a problem that someone is experiencing. So minus that component of someone else validating it apart from ourselves, we have a bunch of young people just like ourselves who are extremely ambitious and energetic, but they can't get anything to work because nothing they are creating is actually worth working.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Now, how can you help someone who is coming up with a good idea, or maybe the idea hasn't yet been validated? So what's the journey? How does the journey look like for this person?
Okay. So I think I usually like to say it starts from always having you always have to assume, most of the times, more often than not, you're working with assumptions. So your assumption will drive you to understand what is the real problem that exists. So you'll assume, and I think most of the people who have seen developing real solutions in the real world today are people who interacted with their space so well, they got so in tune with what was happening around them, that they could easily pick out what is an actual problem from what is not a problem. So I mean, you don't want to hypothetically think about solutions or problems themselves. You want to place yourself in a position where you can actually pick out a problem because you've been in that space for a while
Already, yeah.
So the first thing is, I think, trying to interact with the world as it is, getting to understand how, and getting to understand the world from a first principles of thinking perspective. This is how this is supposed to work, and then you'll be like, no, can we, I think this process is taking too long, can we find a way to make it shorter? That's how problem identification comes. It's not reading a lot of theoretical papers, it comes from experience. So step one is interact with the world around you. Find out what is actually working, find out what is happening in my world, and then based off the analysis of what's happening and your experiences, you'll be able to understand this might be a problem. Once you've identified a problem, now you validate it by saying, this might be a problem, but is it a problem worth solving? How do you say this is a problem worth solving? You move from how much money am I going to spend trying to come up with a solution for this? Number two, how many people am I targeting with this problem? How many people are actually experiencing this problem that is going on? So it's a bunch of things. It's not just having a problem itself, it's having a problem worth solving. Then after identifying a problem worth solving, it's now moving towards creating as many solutions as possible, picking out the most viable solution, which is something you'll always create based off whatever your customer recommends. And then after that, I think it's a whole, but the most initial things is, when it comes to problem identification, it's not theoretical. AI will not help you to really identify problems around you. You can never cook a real problem, you always have to experience it. Yeah.
So now, okay, this person has identified the problem. He's found a solution to fix this problem, because this is something that a lot of maybe young people face. That you come up with an idea when you're in university, or maybe you came up with the idea when you're in high school, and you came up with a product that could fix this problem. But then now you get trapped into your business not growing, where even if your business is generating revenue, you still do not know how to turn this into a successful startup. So the business runs for a couple of months, maybe a year, then the business fails.
Yeah.
What do you feel is something that maybe young people go wrong? Like what goes wrong? Because like right now, we're in 2025, right?
Yeah.
How many successful business stories have we had of young people who have raised businesses? I mean, for the ones we've had, I know a very few.
Same.
Yeah. So it means that there is, and a lot of young people are coming up with great
Yeah,
ideas.
absolutely. Yeah.
What's the wrong thing that's not happening here? Because we have so many successful organizations that are being raised by millennials and people who already. So what is something that young people can look at and be like, wait, this is the problem, or this is the direction? Maybe we're
We
going
need to
this way.
take,
We need
yeah.
to at least pivot a bit to another direction.
I think
Are we too excited sometimes? Are we over optimistic, or is it that we don't follow the principles of business? Maybe. Yeah.
I think I think you've rightly touched on one of the reasons. It's we are excited. And I think I'll also speak from experience. I tried creating a tutoring company. I mean, I was like, it was over the holidays. I mean, I was a top student back in high school, so most of the people in my locality knew that. So, I mean, I'm done with high school, so what do I do with my free time? And then this parent shows up and she's like, hey, Nick, how's your holiday looking? I have nothing. Hey, one of my kids needs help with biology. Are you able to show up? I'm like, yeah, cool. In about a week's time, it's literally grown from one kid to 10 other kids.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, I might make money through this.
Yeah.
So over the course of my semester, I'm now working on a structure, and I'm so excited. I'm now having a call for applications for people to come in as tutors, and we are so excited. We are hoping we'll get 50 students to sign up for holiday tutoring and stuff like that. So excited. We're like, what, the next step is to launch our website where we can give virtual classes and stuff like that.
Nice.
And then a few months later, the whole thing just goes down the drain. And I
yeah.
realized it's because, well, I was excited. I had a really good idea. And I went to the market too fast. I did not take it step by step. So one of the reasons why people fail is because in business, well, there's obviously, I mean, you're literally new to the space. There's obviously a competitor you don't know about. One of the competitors I hadn't seen was libraries. Because kids, perhaps they just want to go somewhere and study on their own. They don't want a tutor. They don't want another teacher at their homes. So that I noticed that was a problem, and I was trying to shove it down their throats. Hey, you need to come for tutoring. Something else, it was too formal. If they were to study over the holiday, if I were to study over the holiday, I want it to be informal. I want it to be more fun. I want it to come with playing chess, and so it doesn't look like a conventional school.
True.
But I was making it a school because that's what I felt was right in my brain. So learning from that, one of the reasons why business fail, of course, it's excitement that comes with I have a good idea. I'm just gonna go. So little emphasis on the kind of product you need to develop, because I didn't know whether I needed to open a get a physical location, or whether I needed a virtual space for kids to learn from. I never took time to think through the actual product as it was needed. So excitement is one of the problems, and this excitement will obviously blur your ability to identify loopholes, because you feel like your idea is so perfect, it is failure proof until you actually experience the failure. So being too excited will definitely limit your success. Then secondly, again, goes back to what we've spoken about. Business and entrepreneurship and innovation requires a lot of iteration cycles. So it will come from, this is the first place where I started. I failed this way, and then I am going to pick the lessons I got from failing here and reinvent my business in this way. So many people, just like myself, you pick that failure and be like, okay, this is bound to never work again. So these are things, when you take into consideration, I think they really hurt the businesses, and why many of these businesses, like I said, working with 60 ideas, yet we've only been able to validate the ideas, not even develop products. We've been able to validate the ideas of about 8 of them from a pool of 60. Mathematically, that's less than an eighth of actually the number of signups you got. Which is a big problem. That means out of every 8 startups you are working with, out of every 8 teams or every 8 entrepreneurs, only one is actually solving a problem that is worth solving. So it goes back to, there's a lot of things when you go to the business development side, and I think that is something we can always talk about. But the early stages, especially for I think the audience, the early stage is where many people really fail. Because if you have a wrong foundation, if you're trying to solve a problem that can be solved, or you're presenting a solution that is actually not feasible for the people you're solving for, then I mean it's bound to fail for sure.
And do you think, like, this is something I kind of experienced, where you have a good idea but you do not have the enough funds for that idea, so you end up coming up with, you kind of crush down the idea into something that is feasible to where it can apply to, but then you also realize that this idea it kind of has a ceiling of growth. Yeah, and I feel like what you were doing tutoring, right?
Yeah.
And the aim of you doing tutoring was, you're not going to do tutoring for the rest of your life.
Absolutely, yes.
You see?
Yeah,
so I find business ideas that young people come up with, it's that they want to come up with a business that is scalable, and they want to reach a place where now they set up a business and the business can run even without them. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that they can go focus on and running another business. I think that's what I want to do. So if I was doing a tutoring business, is it wise to approach a business that you feel is already doing tutoring, and then kind of like merging up with them? Will that like be sustainable? How do you think about that?
But I think one of the few things, and it goes back to again problem worth solving. It depends on how much value you attach to what you have. What one of the reasons why it didn't work out so well for me is because, frankly speaking, I was investing more time than I actually had. So for me, yes, I was making money out of this, and it was in the lines of being profitable, because I was like I had really pretty good marginal returns. I was in the profit side, but again, how much profit I was making could not match up to how much time I was spending.
You're
So
spending so much time.
I was spending so much time, but I was reaping so little from it. So for me, the wisest thing for me, I was like, you know what? I think it works. I tested the concept; it works, but I just don't know what to do with it beyond here.
Yeah.
So I mean, something I could have done better is, handed it over to someone who probably has the capacity to navigate with it. But I didn't do that. But yeah, it depends. There are people who will. I don't know how we call it in. You kind of like transfer.
You kind of transfer your business.
Yeah,
Right.
the ownership and everything, and
yeah.
probably if it was really valuable, you just take like a share.
Yeah, you can retain a percentage.
Yeah, you
of
can
the-
retain a percentage of the
the
business
company,
and
yeah.
stuff like that. So yeah, it really depends. Goes back to how much value how much commitment, how attached you are to whatever you're building. But I think otherwise, in my early 20s, I don't think I'll want to associate myself permanently to any of the things I'm creating. I think what I'm doing is, and this is so different from how other continents are doing it. When you look at China, these kids start developing startups from a really young age.
Yeah, yeah.
In uni, this is the first place where I experienced the whole concept of having a startup. So for me, I think this is somehow a learning phase, and I think many of us will be in the learning phase for now, because we are still exploring what the world looks like, what our environment really need, and we're also trying to discover what is the real value that I can provide to the world around me. So as you're doing this right now, yes, you're making some bit of money, but you're also exploring. So chances are you will not proceed with the business into the future. You'll actually gain enough skills to help you to build something bigger and something more sustainable in the future. Yeah.
I think when you're saying that, one thing that struck into me was I was listening to a story. I don't know the exact number. Okay, the person was sharing on how many businesses he raised and failed until the actual one that actually made him money did well.
Yeah.
And this person he said he raised around 100 or 200 businesses.
Whoa, that's
So,
insane.
like, just thinking about that, this person spent 1 year or spent years building one business and it failed.
Yeah.
And spent another year and countless hours building another business and it fails. And I think that is the fear to young people who are coming up with businesses, where they're feeling like they will have to kind of go through that phase where they'll be building and failing and, building
again
and
and
failing.
Yeah.
And they kind of they have that notion where it's a get rich quick scheme. You want to get rich, like you want to do this fast.
So it just starts now. It
Yeah.
works now.
Yeah.
It has to work immediately.
Yeah, so young people want, if I'm starting a startup, I'm starting a business today, in like 2 months it's already making money. In like at the end of the year, I'm buying my first Lambo. You know?
That's true. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
in 2 years, it's scaled all over Africa.
Thank
see-
you. You're literally reading my mind. Yeah.
You see, so young people, I think, also want to work with speed, and when you kind of go through that phase that things are slow, things are taking time,
Yeah.
they get, I think, impatient. They're not patient enough to wait. So I think maybe that might be our weakness, a weakness point where we take things a bit, I think, too fast.
Yeah.
But I think again that can be our strength,
Yeah.
because we kind of give ourselves very tight deadlines.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because if we, like shooting this video, we gave ourselves this deadline, like today, we have to do it today.
I
and
mean,
we're doing it right
Nobody
now.
even we don't think about the setting. Don't think about the quality of the
You
car.
see,
It's
yeah.
like just do it anyway.
You see, so
Yeah.
I find like doing things fast sometimes it's good because it gets things done. But then again, if you're looking at the bigger picture of a business, you kind of leave out some important factors.
Mm-hmm.
So then you reach a point at the business and realize this foundation wasn't well
Laid.
laid.
Yeah.
So now the business starts leaking, and there's
Mm-hmm.
people
Yeah.
maybe are stealing from the business. You didn't find out. There's taxes that were unpaid, the licenses that were
Yeah.
not, and now the
Accounted for. Yeah.
that's another thing. Before you say something is, most businesses that are young businesses, we start the business and ignore the legal factors.
Absolutely, and that's another big problem because I mean I just want to agree absolutely with the first thing which you said, that as we are learning now, this is multifaceted, and I think our generation has a lot to learn, frankly speaking. Well, first of all, I think on record we are the generation with the shortest attention span.
That's true.
That is so true.
100% true,
And
yeah.
what that means is you are able to pick something and you can run with it, but you'll not run with it forever. We are, I think, adrenaline junkies. So you want to be doing everything so fast. Like, it's exciting to
True.
do things so fast. Now, again, the reason why that might not be as risky as we think is because right now there's what you call information overload. We have too much information. Information is everywhere. TikTok, books, you're walking on the streets, highways, literally you're just reading, interacting with information and knowledge all the time. So it makes sense for us to be always on the move trying to fix something. Unfortunately, because we're too much in a rush, we will not always pay attention to all the details. However, that with each cycle of failure, it comes with lessons on its own. So the kind of mistake I made yesterday, I'm less likely to repeat it today. If I make a mistake today, I'm less likely to repeat it tomorrow. So you have an accumulating level of experience from the failures that you're also accruing
But you
along
have to
the
kind
way.
of document that.
Exactly, yeah. So you have to be intentional about failing. It's
Yeah.
not about I started a business, it failed. What did you learn from it? Oh yeah, I don't know. I just failed. Yeah, I mean I don't know. And then you're gonna start another business, and then you're gonna repeat the same mistakes. If it
yeah.
was taxes, you're still going to fall prone to taxing, failing to tax your what to file your tax returns
File your tax
in
returns,
advance. So these are things which if it's you're going to fail so many times, then you always have to pick lessons, because there's someone else who's going to fail only once, but they have taken so long in the process of developing that failure. They probably learned all the lessons that this other person needed 100 failures to accommodate.
Yeah.
So I think I agree with that. Then the second thing I think you're highlighting was in the lines of you're gonna have to remind me what you're talking about. The second thing.
What was the second thing?
Yeah. I mean the legal aspect.
The legal. We really ignore a lot of the legal aspects.
Yeah, that is really dangerous. Copywriting.
Yeah.
Plagiarism. You're
Yeah.
literally just plagiarizing somebody's work.
I think we kind of get it from the. I think we get it from the businesses that happen in China, where we look at a successful business in China that already copies what other businesses are doing. You get?
Yeah.
So I think most young people will kind of copy and paste businesses without that legal thinking. So you run a business, you copy what somebody else is doing in another country, and you paste it in your country and see if it can work. You'd make like some few money from that business, jump out and come completely like do the same thing with other businesses. But then on sustainability of doing that is where things,
I think
because one will work well, where you'd make good money. Then when you reinvest that money into the next business, everything collapses and then you're back to zero again.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And there's this thing they usually say about China in the US. They say America creates, China imitates. Yeah. China literally copies almost everything, and it's a good thing.
But they're
Because,
good at copying.
They are so, and they actually advance whatever they are copying. They just don't copy and paste. They always make sure whatever they are pasting is advanced, or they can revise it. But yeah, so when it comes to the area of really the law aspect of it, you don't want to find yourself, and I think it's also a problem, not even the legal aspect only. You don't want to find yourself in a place where you're taking a business model that worked in the US and you try to implement that in Kenya as it is. The reason why the markets are so different. I was doing a contrast between the Kenyan market and the US market, for instance. There's such a stark contrast. If you were to take how Tesla is doing stuff and try to do that in Kenya, you are bound to fail miserably. And the reason why is because they are two different systems.
True.
The levels of technology are different, the levels of expertise, the needs of the different markets and economies are different, the resources they have are different, the funding styles and mechanisms are different. So you cannot allow yourself to really imitate. There's a legal aspect of that, and at the same time there's also the impracticality that comes with it. You just can't copy and paste what's happening in China into Kenya. We don't have the same level of expertise, we don't have the same level of machinery, we are not at a similar level of industrialization. The markets are not, copy and paste. So if you were to borrow a model from the US, at least try to make some advancements and adjustments based on the market needs within your own system.
Yeah. In that, another thing people looking at is salaries in Africa and salaries in the States.
Ooh.
You see,
Yeah.
and salaries in the States, they or the first world countries, it's normally in dollars. So they will say I make around $400,000 a year. In other African countries are paid monthly. And I think in Kenya right now, what someone would consider a good salary is a salary that begins around, I think, 300,000.
Exactly, that's really good.
And 300,000 in Kenya is really good. But
Yeah.
if you convert it in dollars, that's like around 2,500 US dollars.
If you're doing that a year, that's like $30,000 max.
So that is a below. That's
Actually, I
You know,
think
you can't-
that's the minimum wage in the
Yes.
US.
yeah. So someone who is a young person looking to work for somebody else, that's the risk that they're feeling like, wait, am I ever going to achieve financial freedom? Am I ever going to build a business? Am I ever going to do something if this person is paying me 300,000
Yeah, I agree.
shillings? But then for the Kenyan perspective is, man, you're making 300,000 shillings.
It's like you're actually making 300,000
Hey,
shillings.
You
What
can
do
live.
you mean?
You can live in Kilimani. You can eat well.
Yeah.
You can do all the
Go
good
for all
things.
the dates, go for all the holidays.
Yeah.
You can literally sleep on Saturdays and Sundays without pressure.
Yeah. Now we're coming up with younger people who want to make $1 million a month.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's insane work.
So $1 million a month, we are looking at it as that's $10,000. I mean,
that's
it's
still-
achievable.
yeah, it's achievable, but it's still nowhere close to what
You see.
the US is
Yeah.
having.
So
Yeah.
I feel like there's a gap. There's a gap in our job market and what the young people are coming up with. Young people are trying to raise businesses, but some of the businesses are failing. They are they're getting a big problem in how do I raise this business? How do I scale it up? How do I become an entrepreneur who is running different businesses? I feel like we need more innovation and incubation centers
Absolutely.
where young people are able to incubate their ideas, validate their ideas, and know that is this something that can work. Also from the industry side, I feel like guys who have funds to support ideas, because not every idea that a young person comes up with, they have to run with it. We can have ideas that are sold off,
Yeah.
like spin-out
Yes,
companies.
yes,
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah.
So that is one way where young people are able to grow their companies, and we can start our own Silicon Valley in Africa.
Absolutely.
And I feel also with expectations that young people have on salaries and stuff, it's out of them looking at what other young people are doing in the States and now trying to compare
Comparing,
it
yeah.
to you. So it's a very confusing time for them, because you look at a young person who is in I actually have a personal experience. I was in the States when I did my exchange year in high school, and the high schoolers that I was with, these high schoolers were making around 2,000, 3,000. monthly, and it was a side hustle that they were doing. So no,
2,000?
2,000,
That's like-
3,000.
How much is that in Kenyan context?
That's like 350 up or
Jesus
400k.
Christ. Wow.
So for them, actually, it was just small gigs that they were doing. Where, cause I was in a state called Nebraska,
Mm-hmm.
so they were helping with like farmland and stuff like that.
Whoa, farm work?
Yeah,
$2,000?
$2,000, and that's
insane.
little money.
Wow.
That's little money. People are making upwards like $10,000, $20,000. And now when you're looking at it at someone who is in Africa,
Nairobi to be specific.
Nairobi to be specific, they're working every day, seriously putting hours and hours every day, and they're getting paid around 300k a month.
Absolutely.
And that person feels like, oh, I'm at my best.
yeah,
I'm doing well.
I'm literally on top of the
Yeah.
city, not on the world. City.
So
Yeah.
it's discouraging, I feel, for like young people who are coming in the job market. They're feeling like there is, again, a ceiling to what they're able to achieve, and what they want to do is break off that ceiling and then put it into a way that my job wouldn't determine how much I could make. If I'm a marketer, then I don't have a restriction of that. I can only make an upwards of 500,000 shillings a month. I can go upwards to like 2 million, 3 million a
Absolutely.
month, and then I wouldn't have a notation of thinking it in Kenyan shillings. I'd always think about it in US dollars. So if you're thinking about it in like 10,000 US dollars, 20,000 US dollars, it's a bigger amount.
I
You
think-
guys can come in. Yeah.
Those cameras ain't recording?
They are recording. You're good, but
Okay.
we'll just edit it out.
Okay,
Yeah.
we're really sorry.
You're good.
No worries.
Okay, thank you. Are you guys from USIU?
Yeah.
We're just wondering if you guys have a music center.
Music.
Center.
It's the room. It's just poster washrooms.
You see the room that goes all
yeah,
the way
that
up.
tram.
Yeah.
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 It's
Thank
on
you
the
so
far
much.
end.
Yeah, but I don't
Yeah.
think there's anyone right there now.
Yeah.
We'll just have a look.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, sure thing.
Cool.
Sorry for the interruption.
You're
Alright.
good. You're good.
Cool. Okay, so I think there's something which you've stated which I found very interesting. First things first, the average Kenyan, and especially the average Kenyan male,
See,
makes less than 100,000 shillings. If we do the math, how much is that in dollars? That's less than $1,000. Actually, it's only 3%.
Oh no, it's actually less than that.
Wait, it's only 3% of men
Uh-huh.
that make over 100k.
Oh, okay.
Kenyan
true,
shillings.
True, yeah.
Less than 3% of men. So that
Less.
means 97% of men are actually making
Below that, yeah.
that amount. And just to go back to testing this as a real problem, I think we have to really have to be realistic. And one of the things of areas of concern to me is how many of us are expecting to get the regular 9 to 5 jobs with extremely good salaries, where you show up at 9 and then go leave at 5 p.m. Unfortunately, Africa is not structured that way. The African economy is not structured to favor the 9 to 5. The reason why is because 90% of the employment opportunities are actually provided by MSMEs, the small and medium scale enterprises.
Yeah.
What this means is that 90% of us are most likely to be employed by the mamambogas or get self-employment. We're probably going to be adding value, providing value to this mamambogas, the water vendors,
True.
and the small scale businesses, the retail stores and stuff like that. But we have never really come to terms with, this is where Africa is, and because we have this westernized perspective of what the job industry looks like, a lot of us will end up being depressed. And the reason why is because our expectations versus reality, there's a bit of a mismatch there. So I think agree with this. We have to get to the point where we understand that we are not getting scaled together 9 to 5 jobs. We need to stop romanticizing the job industry, and we have to start looking at the reality of things. What is needed in Africa's ecosystem? We need solution providers. We don't need people who are getting trained to get 9 to 5 jobs. We need people who can show up at 7 a.m., people who can show up at 5 p.m., people who can show up at 12 a.m. because that's how often and that's how the business ecosystem runs in Africa. Then the second thing, I think when you speak about innovation centers and funding strategies, I will agree with this 100%. Here's an instance, for example.
Yeah.
Most of the universities that I know of are valued I think we begin with our university. It's valued in terms of billions of Kenyan shillings. But we are unable to
But
churn out.
look at that in US dollars.
Actually, I think it should be in US dollars.
Oh, it should be in US
this
dollars.
institution is really worth. I really think USIU is worth. I think USIU is worth $1 billion. You can't tell me. It's a private university, so we're less likely to find the specifics of that. Let's see
Okay, they're just telling us about.
the salaries, and then
Yeah.
the school fees.
Yeah.
Uh, let's see.
What can be understood this way?
8 billion.
8 billion shilling. But this
This is just running. This is operational costs, yeah.
Yeah.
So you can imagine the institution having
Okay,
8 billion in. So
in
I
terms
think
of assets.
I mean,
I
look
think,
at the
yeah,
assets.
in terms of assets,
this is a
it's
really
way past,
it's
yeah.
a $1 billion institution for
Yeah,
sure. But the ironical thing is, a $1 billion institution being unable to provide, to churn out a single product in a year that is adding value to Africa's economy. That's a problem right there. So when it comes to, and I think one of the big barriers to producing real products, I think we one of the things which has come to me now, I'm not really interested in just having good ideas, and I think I've said this before.
Yeah.
It's no longer about having good ideas. It's about building products that people would find useful. So big institutions, big universities. The last time I checked Africa, I think Africa has over, I don't know how many universities in Africa. We're churning out over 3 million graduates every single year. Okay, we're churning out over I think the number increased by about 17% from 2022. That's 1,274. That was in 2020.
This is in 2024.
I think 2024.
Yeah, so we have more we can have a few more universities now.
I mean, 1,274 institutions that are not actively pushing out real products into the world every single year. Where do we expect the businesses to come from?
True.
And what happens to be a big obstruction to this process is that many of us are based off the our earnings, based off the salaries that we're getting, based off what Africa's economy needs, we're unable to actually focus on product development. Unfortunately, because we can't industrialize on our own, we'll keep relying on external products, and that means we'll keep on losing profit margins every single year. We'll always keep on being on the negative side of the balance. So what we really need to focus on is, can these institutions, the big institutions, the innovation centers, would they actually fund prototyping, which is a big hindrance, because people with really fancy ideas, amazing and incredible low fidelity prototypes, but they are unable to actually generate a real product and present it to the real world. I think that's something which would need to be done for sure.
Does that mean we kind of have to change the culture, the working culture that we've been having in Africa, specifically I'd say in Kenya, where most of our employers or people who run businesses kind of have a reluctancy in bringing in young people to work with them? Yeah, because what I'm seeing right now is a shift where I appreciate what some employers are doing, where they are inviting new ideas that young people are having. So you'd find the Gen Z who are more tech savvy, and they are smart in a way that most of the things we've grown up seeing things are done fast.
Yeah.
Because we came in and the age of internet was coming out. So we had Google already.
Yeah.
Our parents had to go to libraries and study. For us, we just had to ask Google
and now ChatGPT.
And now we have AI, you see. So everything is becoming faster for us. And now we've adopted that fast mindset where if we get into a business, we find ways of how we can do things faster.
Agreed.
So like for me, I work with some few businesses here and there, And what I advise for them is like, try using this AI to do ABCD. Try using this to fasten this work. I mean, at this day and age, if you're writing an email, I mean, you're spending 30 minutes.
And the
to
truth
think.
is, it's not being lazy.
It's not being lazy.
Because you're gonna, in fact, most of the work you're
It's the
gonna be
same
doing
thing you're
is
going to
prompting. You're gonna be prompting
Yeah.
the AI to give you the script as you want it to be. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
So I find that the working culture has to change
yeah,
for those business that are very rigid and are very stagnant to allow new ideas from young people to come in. They're gonna feel the effects 2-3 years from now, where other business would have been ahead of the curve. They've already adopted AI into their systems. They've already protected their systems from being hacked and stuff like that. Where these businesses that haven't adopted AI and they're like, oh, we'll just do what we've been doing because it has been working. I'm telling you, like in 2-3 years from now, it won't be working.
I think I'll agree with that 100%. There's I think each generation comes with its own perks, and of course its own quirks as well. The problem with working with Gen Z is we're very, I mean, sorry, Gen Z is unstructured. They
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
like don't tell me to show up at
Yeah.
at 7 a.m.
Yeah.
Don't tell me
be
to
very
come to
flexible.
office when there's nothing I'm supposed to do just for the sake of receiving a salary. And I've gotten that so many times. That's some of the things you'll have to work with. There are people who like to think, so you will not program Gen Z to do something. They'll tell you, hey, I think we can find a more conventional way of doing this. So that's one of the advantages. I mean, some of the disadvantages. But now when you look at the advantages of it, and I will admit to this frankly, anybody that is able to adopt this young and absorb this young talent is preparing themselves for one thing: innovation. Businesses that are trying to adapt themselves to new markets will have a really difficult time because the largest consumers in Africa especially are between 18 to 35. These are the guys who consume the most.
Yeah.
They may not have the most purchasing power,
True.
but they're the guys who have the highest purchasing drive. So there are some of the guys who contribute greatly to. So if you want to sell a lot more to these guys, you have to really work with people who, people who are themselves. So I think for innovation and advancement of businesses as we have known them from the past, to move from what they've been in the past to what they have to be in the future, you definitely need to absorb new talent in businesses. I think I would say each business, I don't know, Mama Mboga, Boda Boda, they definitely need a Gen Z associate. They need someone who's adopted, someone who's younger, because the way of thinking is different. It might be, and because we're very innovative and we're very creative, we know how to harness technology.
True.
It will be an advantage for any business to actually adopt the young people as we know them.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's well said. There's a need of changing the culture, and there's a need of businesses that have already been running to adopt the young people and the young talent, and to also introduce innovation. We've seen it time to time where companies like Kodak, the camera company, that failed because it didn't have innovation, and innovation is always there.
Yeah.
Like, look at how we used to go to a place and we only had cash. Now we have M-Pesa.
Absolutely.
We were not able to send money to someone who was abroad. Now we can send money.
We used to use donkeys to
You
move
see.
from Nairobi to Mombasa.
Now we have cars. We
Now we
have
have
better
cars.
coming cars. We
Yeah.
have electric cars. We have, so innovation is always coming. It's that also the way we do business and the way we transact in terms of skills. So that also has to improve.
Absolutely.
I think so the thing we might maybe look at is maybe risks. What are the risks that are posed as so there's as I understand it well, there is around 3 or 4 types of the young people that we have. We have young people who are okay with the 9 to 5 jobs, who are in universities or have finished high schools and just want to work for someone. The young people who are entrepreneurs, but then they are in a phase of they're running a business, but they do not know how this business is going to do. there are entrepreneurs who are already doing well,
Mm-hmm.
and they already know that this business is sustainable. Most likely, you'll find that they're adopting a business that was being run by
Yeah.
the family.
Mm-hmm.
So they are already inside the systems, and now we have mega entrepreneurs now, guys who want big, guys who don't just want to run a business. These are
They
guys
want
who
to
want to
own-
become billionaires.
Own empires.
Yeah, they want to own empires. So they want to build businesses and build a system and let this business run by itself, go away, maybe go to another business. And these are people who are not limited by country.
Yeah.
They will look at Kenya is doing well, I can run this business in Kenya.
Ethiopia next.
Ethiopia is, I'll run this business in Ethiopia. So all these types of young people, how do they help each other? How are we looking at it in terms of the way things are going? Is like, does it complement each other? I don't know how to put it, but
Okay. I think when it comes to the
what's-
risks, I mean,
all of these ones, consider that all these four types of people want to become financially free.
Mhm,
And the essence of actually the essence of everything, if you look at it, is that you need money to sustain yourself.
true.
Yeah, so
mean-
you work to get money.
Money will perhaps buy you the freedom you're looking
Yeah,
for.
you come into business because you wanted to make profit, and the profit is money. So in all these people who are coming out and training, the 9 to 5, the entrepreneurs, the mega entrepreneurs, all of them are looking to make money, and all of them are looking to attain what is called
Financial freedom. Yeah.
So all these people, maybe is it practical that all of them can reach that sense of financial freedom, or do you feel like other people stand a higher chance of attaining it?
Okay. So I'll put it this way. Imagine it's a race. We're racing. You know, there's Omanyala, and then there's me, there's you, and then there's Brooke, and there's Rovi.
Yeah,
We already know who's going to take that.
yeah.
Yeah, we already know it's
You
Omanyala.
already know it's Omanyala.
I think the last one will debate between me and Brooke. We'll debate between me and Brooke.
Yeah.
Yeah. What the analogy just one focuses on showing. Of course, everybody wants to run. Everybody wants to be at the top. However, there's the skills. There's the conditioning that you need to have to actually get you there. It's not an ambition which takes you places. It's the capacity you build. So everybody is ambitious. Everybody wants to become a mega entrepreneur. I don't think if I was told to run Facebook, I would say no. If I were told you're gonna be the one to found Facebook, I would say yes, I want it.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I may not get Facebook to the level where it is today.
True.
If I had to start it from scratch.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because we are all at different levels. So the guy who's going to work a 9 to 5 and the guy who's going to be a mega entrepreneur is really separated by factors like how much commitment are they willing to invest. And something I find really interesting, for instance, many people who work 9 to 5s, they'll work in this company for 3 years. And in fact, a survey showed that the average person right now is likely to work in 6 different industries
Oh,
for their whole life.
okay.
Back then in the past, you're just going to work in a company for over 30 years.
Yeah, just that
But right
one
now, people want to work, like I said, short attention span. You get disinterested very fast. So today you'll be in communications, tomorrow you'll be in, I don't know, pharmacy, the next day you'll be in engineering,
Yeah.
fuel industry, whatever. And the reason why that is the case again is because there's a big emphasis on the skills. So as long as you have a skill that skill can be replicated in different industries because you're growing with the skill. But that works for the 9 to 5 guys. When you look at the founder of Facebook, he's been the founder of Facebook. I think if you look at his LinkedIn, he's been the founder of Facebook for 20 years. He has not worked in any other industry.
True.
He has
Yeah.
forgone holidays. He has really forgone a lot of things. So there's benefits and there's disadvantages to everything. So depending on what your pain threshold is, how your level of commitment, because it takes, everybody starts off from a 9 to 5. I think there's this guy, what is his name? the founder of Nvidia, Jensen Huang. I think he highlights that he started off with washing dishes as a kitchen cleaner. He started with a 9 to 5, then advancing. How that advancement occurs, you move from being a 9 to 5 guy to having an idea. You are an ignorant entrepreneur, you still don't know what's happening in your space.
True.
And then suddenly, after a few years of experience, you're now a successful enterprise. You're somehow raking in some good money, and with time you develop into a mega business or mega entity in the business space. And that takes time, it takes consistency. It means you show up, it means you fail several times. You pick the failure not as criticism but as a form of correction, and you learn from it. So you keep on reiterating for as long as you're alive. So there's someone who wants to be to have a mega company which takes 30 years to develop, but their commitment is going to be for 5 years. So while rightly we may all have the ambition, unfortunately we can't all get there. And the reason is because there's a lot of factors in between which will naturally disqualify us. So yes, I want to be a top founder. I don't know if I'm going to own a big company or not. The reason why is because perhaps my commitment levels are lower than yours. So if you compare the two of us, we might be at the same starting line, but in 5 years we'll be at a different level because of what you had at the back of your mind that I didn't have. So yeah, I think the disparity is it's not even biased, it's just natural. So not everybody will unfortunately get to the top, but I think wherever you'll be will be based on the level of your comfort.
True.
Yeah, so there's someone who's comfortable at 9 to 5, he doesn't want to move beyond that. There's someone who's comfortable at the second level, someone else comfortable at the fourth level. So it depends on where do I get comfortable at as well. If I get comfortable too soon, I'm gonna be stuck there for life. If I get comfortable at the fourth tier, then I already made it, so I can rest.
Yeah. I find comfortability in another way also it's determined by the society that you're living in. Because let's say you're a business person, right? You have 5 businesses running in your place, or you're running in Nairobi, right? You have maybe a laundromat, you have a place that's selling maybe ice cream, you have a restaurant, you have multiple businesses that are making you good money, right? And for you, you're looking at it in a point where you do not just want businesses that make millions. You want to become a billionaire. Yeah, you're looking at it where I want to have businesses all over the world. So for someone like that, in most terms, the society is already looking at you like you've already made it. But according to yourself,
You're like,
this is just 1%
of what I intend to achieve.
of what you intend to achieve, or what you feel that I can achieve this. So sometimes what's most what is very scary is what's most scary is being in a position where the society is clapping for you, as in, Nick, you've already made it.
You're there,
Nick, you already made it. Like they're looking at you like, oh, Nick, you've made it. And then when you're alone, I think I heard it somewhere. When you're alone, you're looking at yourself and saying, I'm not there yet.
I can do better than this.
Yeah, I can do better than this. So in that situation, who you surround yourself with is what will determine whether you will decide to conform with what the society has told you, or now to go with what your head is telling you that I need to go bigger than this.
I think I totally agree. I mean, for instance, we're talking about the salaries. In Kenya, if you're earning somewhere around
Like, let's say you're making
50,000,
yeah,
I mean, why do you go to work? Like, you have a business that is bringing in revenue. You're not even working, showing up 9 to 5,
making like 400.
but it's giving once a 400k. That you've been going too far. Me just 150. I feel like, okay, show me your ways. Don't do beyond that. You're just okay.
Yeah.
In the US, it's another contrast. So I think ambition is like again, unapata, there's someone who, I think at the point where we are, for instance, there's someone who looks and says, damn, this guy is making so much money.
Yeah.
Like, this guy is,
But you're not there yet. You're not there
like,
yet.
this guy is smart, like super smart. He knows a lot. Like, he's too connected. but again, it depends on the level where they're speaking from.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I stay around people. I mean, when I sit with you and Brooke and Dr. Billy, I'm like, wait, I'm not even there yet. I feel like there's so much to learn.
True.
But when you see other people below your level, and I mean, it's right to say below your level because they still have a level to
Yeah, they
to
still have a
grow
lot
to. There's a bridge to gap,
experience, yeah.
and it's okay that they feel that way. But then it also comes from a point of, yes, you feel that way. I respect it. I'll help you to grow to the level where I am if I can. But this is not it. So for me, I also usually like to tell people like, nah, I feel like you can also get here
True.
so easily, and the moment you get here, you realize there's so much higher that you can go for sure. Yeah.
And
Just give me a second. Let me check.
Oh,
if
you
my-
could.
Just a second.
what's the nini? 50? 54?
I don't know.
Mine is around 55.
55 as well.
Oh. I think we're close to finishing.
That's pretty good. An hour of wow.
Oh,
We have so many clips.
yeah. Another thing is also, do you want it bad enough?
Exactly.
Do you want it bad enough that you're going to have sleepless nights? Do you want it bad enough that everyone else is going to misunderstand you? Do you want it bad enough that you'll be making enough what people find
Consider enough. Yeah.
but for you because you're running multiple things, it's not yet enough. Like, so you have to be that heavily ambitious person. It will reach a point where you will kind of look like a crazy on what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
But then what will determine what will give you the strength to go past that is now your heavy ambition of being almost what's the right word?
Like you're so invested in your desire to actually go higher
Yeah.
that it doesn't matter what people
Yeah.
consider as a high a level of high to them. You're really just absorbed into your own space.